John, thank you so much for joining us here today at FF News' coverage of Sibos 2022. How are you doing?
We're doing well, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Now, John, could you tell our viewers your name, your job role, and your organisation?
Absolutely. So I am John Salter. I'm the CCO of ClearBank.
Absolutely amazing. Now, can you give our viewers a bit of background to ClearBank?
Yeah, sure. So we've been running live for about 3.5 years. We had our first customer go live January 2019. We have over 200 EMIs and banks on our platform now, which translates into the UK to about 1 in 4 EMIs now banked with ClearBank. And we are an infrastructure bank, so you won't see us on the high street, but you'll know all the brands that we support. And so we are very proud of the fact that we power a lot of the major EMIs in the UK now.
Absolutely fascinating. So you are perfectly placed to answer my next question. We're seeing the role of a bank change, dramatically. Now, people are calling it embedded finance. People are saying that it's the Internet of Things. But could you give us your viewpoint? I believe you've just released a report. Am I right?
Yeah, we just released a report yesterday on. There's a lot of confusion around what is embedded finance. I mean, if you actually take a step back, the fashionable language before was BaaS, or banking as a service. Then it became the next iteration, which is embedded finance, which is just a continuation. But what we felt and we're seeing with our clients is this, and the report shows there's inefficiencies in the way BaaS or embedded finance works today. And we called out with the analysis, an average EMI is costing about $11 million a year in lost opportunity and revenue from the friction of the structure. And that's if you think about how it was built. BaaS and embedded finance is, they're kind of, if you're an EMI, you've taken an application or a service and then you've tried to bolt on incremental value. So you start with a nice idea and you said, I need some FX and I need some pay-as-you-go, and you bolt it all together. But the friction comes from, everything starts with money. The old adage, you follow the money. They're still true in every walk of life. Yeah. And the problem you have with those structures is the money has to get onto the platform, then it'll go to the FX person, then it'll go to the payments person, then the lending person. What we've seen coming through, and we've got clients doing this now, is, and my history is payments, is you always start a cash management discussion with the bank account. Where is the bank account? And then you bolt the services around it, and then there's no friction. And so we provide embedded banking services to quite a few high street brands, where we provide them with a genuine bank account, so it's really safe. It's depositor protected, so in the UK it's FSCS, or Americans it's depositor protected, and it's a real bank account rather than a wallet. But once you put the bank account in, then you build the ecosystem around the bank account. It's far more efficient and much more cost effective. So probably the most visible one in the UK is Tide, who through that model, we've worked with them just over 3 years ago. They've got something like 8 or 9% of the market now for SMEs. So and that's just accelerated growth because it works much more efficiently. So we're trying to demonstrate the market's bifurcating between embedded finance, which is finance, the clues of the title, and banking, which is what we do. So we provide people with the bank accounts, and we always talk about security and safeguarding stuff. But fundamentally, if you have the bank account first, then it's much more efficient to bolt on other value-added products and services.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see the deconstruction of banking. Yeah. Because we're so used to seeing it bricks and mortar, this old kind of Georgian-looking building in the city of London.
That's it.
And actually behind the scenes, you've just put a bank account, a digital bank account, and you're building things around it. So if that's the future that we can expect, then you've already talked about a case study with Tide improving their growth by 8%. What's this mean for other players, maybe more traditional institutions that are looking to scale to a younger market or a different market completely?
So we were built, we were built because the traditional institutions probably don't do this very well. The technology's not there. We have, brand new technology. We're 3.5 years old. It's going to be as cutting edge as you get. The big institutions they're not that agile. And everyone knows this, that debate, young versus new and everything else, right? So we just think the bigger banks, there's a lot of debate around what is the purpose of the traditional banks? Because we're a payments bank, that's what we do. Our payments really core to the larger banks, because a lot of our clients, and it comes out in the report, talk about actually really all our bank wants to do is sell us loans and credit and FX, and they actually want to sell all the other products because they're higher margin. And actually the payments are kind of cost of doing business. Well, we don't see that. We see it is the business. And so it's going to be, we just think the technology investment that the newer banks like us are putting out there are going to continue to chip away at the core business of the larger banks. And I'm not saying they don't mind too much. I mean, no one likes it, but I just don't think they've got the appetite to compete and invest the levels that they need to because of the legacy. They've got 1970 bloody coding, right? It's very different.
And coders from 1970.
And coders, yeah, coming out of retirement, 85 years of age. So I think it's a very different world. And what we're seeing in banks particularly is, if you look at the UK, there's lots of new banks coming out that are very specialist. We've got banks that specialise in agriculture or they specialise in regions in the country. So they're not taking on all the big banks' business, but they're taking out very niche pieces of business. And the reason we know that is because of the last 10 banks that have gone live in the UK, 9 are on our platform. So I can talk with some authority on that point. So, but that's why, because they take our technology and then they go and they service those niche clients across the UK.
Amazing. Now, lastly, we're here at Sibos 2022, where a number of those traditional institutions are based. What's caught your eye? What trend have you looked at and gone, oh, interesting, that's where they're going?
I'll tell you what's caught my eye is what's not being discussed at length here, actually, is I'm amazed how little, I know there is some peripheral conversation, how digital assets, central bank currencies, the response of the big banks and institutions to digital currencies, stable coins and everything else. I mean, there's some conversation here, but I'm really surprised it's not dominating. I think it is such an interesting area that has if it went the wrong way, whatever wrong means, do you need a bank at all? Because you've got central bank digital currencies and you've got a Google or one of these metaverse companies providing the service. Where do banks fit? It's kind of like an existential threat here, and it's on the edges of the conference. I've been to other conferences this year where it's kind of the central pillar. So I think, I'm not saying people are asleep at the wheel, that would be far too strong, but it surprised me it's not being discussed as much, rather than what is a pretty standard conference in some ways. You know,
because if you can just have a bank account to bank account transfer using the central bank, there's no need.
Literally, that you could build a story that reflects that point. Yeah. So I think it's such an important area, and I'm really surprised that a global banking conference is not talking about the global banking response to that potential threat and coming up with solutions. There are obviously people are looking at stuff, but so that's that's my big takeaway is the gap, the white space, rather than what's actually being discussed.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been really good. Cheers.
Good to see you.
Yeah.